ton of them down there this morning, but there's some. Oh, here he comes. Here he comes. Here he comes. Get it. Oh, dude, he had it. Oh, he's on it still. Oh, he had it again. The way that the head's designed with the grooves in it, it really shows up. And there he is. A little 2-pounder. It will catch big ones. It will catch everything in between. Oh, he's a jumper. I don't know what pound line this is. I think it's like 8, so we're gonna come down here and grab them. Nice. Look at that. Choke that little minnow. That jig head like wrapped over his top lip. He wasn't going anywhere. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Awesome. Saw those fish sitting down there on the bottom. He's not a giant fish by any means, but nice, healthy, probably 2 1/4, 2.5 pounder. Sitting down there on the bottom, and I just fired that little minnow out there on the jig head and watched him on my active target chase it down and get it. Thanks, buddy. Got my bulk bag of minnows. There's a couple little modifications that I do to the minnow when I rig it up. You can rig it up, obviously, just like it is. But what I like to do, you can see the little jig head here, he's got a flat side to him. So what I want to do is match that flat side up to a little flat edge on the minnow. So what I do is take my scissors and I cut just a section off, just a tiny little section. I don't even know if that's like 1/8 of an inch probably. Put that aside, and you can see that makes a flat section, and that's going to match up perfectly to that jig head. So then I just thread it on there with that nice little 2/0 fine wire hook. And I get it nice up there, and it's got this little wire keeper, which is great. Holds that plastic on there good, and you can see that it flushes it up against that jig head really, really well. And then for getting it down just a little bit quicker, you know, if I was fishing maybe a little shallower water right here, it's like 20 feet deep. So I want to get it down just a hair quicker. So I'm going to take that tail. You can see it's a real flat, wide tail, which is going to displace a little bit more water, but it's also going to slow the fall down. So what I want to do is I'm going to cut this. You can see this one that I just took off, how much I cut off. Cut it down just to a little like pin almost. So I cut those side flaps off and just take it down into like a little pin tail. So you can modify this bait however you want. You can leave it how it is, but I'm going to trim that tail down just a fraction here on either side, just like that. So then you have a little pin instead of that big flat floppy tail. That's going to reduce the amount of drag. It's going to allow that bait to get down there a little bit faster and get down to these fish that are down in that 20-foot zone. But I'm going to get that back out there, see if I can catch that fish that nipped at my bait on that last cast. You can see that ball of shad on my active target there, right there. You can see how it swims across the bottom. If you visualize our bait as the middle zone of that ball of shad, you know, that's, like I said, like 3 to 4 feet. You can see that bait ball is staying above the bottom. It's not on the bottom. So those fish are used to looking up. They're used to chasing that bait fish up. So that's why we throw this minnow out there and keep it right above their head. Look, you can see them swimming after the real thing right there. And that's why they're biting this guy right here. Very educated. Oh, that one had to have it though. Got a better one? Just another 2-pounder. Man, there's a bunch of them down there though. Oh, he's strong. He's got buddies chasing him. Oh, he doesn't have it hooked real good. Oh, he's not that big. He just has it kind of... Is that anything in his mouth? I think it is. Oh yeah, he's just got a messed up jaw from being caught. We're on Gunnersville, and there's so many people that fish out here. You can tell that one. That hook got him so good though. Oh my gosh, yeah, there we go. That thing is just catching them. That bait's already caught 3 fish, and I could probably get another one on it. Not a big one, but what's going on with his back fin? Look at that thing. It's like a shark. Largemouth bass, part shark. That is crazy. Look at that. He's like missing a big old chunk out of that fin. Huh. Thanks, buddy. There he goes. So one of the ways I like to fish this thing is I'll get it down, and right before it gets to the fish, I'll engage my reel and stop it. And look right there, one's coming up to it. Oh, 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 come on, get it. Oh my gosh. But what the key with this bait, what I think is the key to this bait is to keep it above their head. Don't let them really, I don't know, don't let it get past them. You know, you want to keep it right over their head. Here comes another one. Got him. They really like this thing. Not a big one, but that just is a prime example. You stop it right over their head. Little guy. Little guy. Come here, little guy. He couldn't resist it. But the deal there is you stop it right above their head and you kind of just twitch that bait and shimmy it along, and they see it up above and they just kind of see a silhouette and they see that little minnow, you know, dancing up there, and they can't resist it. But when you drop it down to their level, I don't know, I just feel like they get a little bit better look at it. I feel like it just isn't as natural if it's swimming up in the water column, and the water's clear enough here where we're fishing. This is a technique more for clear water. Let me get this guy back and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. But not a big one by any means, but just emphasizes that technique. So I think the key is you keep that bait above their head. Let me straighten them out. Keep it above their head, and when all they're seeing is a little minnow profile dancing up there, and they can't tell whether it's a real shad or our little, you know, replica bait here that's mimicking a shad perfectly. And you know, this size here is pretty much your standard threadfin shad size, 3.5, 4 inches long, and it seems like you get a lot more bites if you keep it above their head. And the distance that you want to keep it above their head, you know, now that we have forward-facing sonar, active target, Livescope, whatever it is you use, you know, about 2 to 3 feet is kind of my rule of thumb. Keep it about 2 to 3 feet over them, and you'd be amazed. You just kind of shake that guy over their head to get their attention, and then they'll start to come up to it. And usually with this bait, less action is better, and you just kind of reel it real slow. Keep your rod tip up a little bit, just kind of shake it ever so lightly. You're not sitting there, you know, shaking it like a jig in a tree or something. You're just kind of just barely moving the line. And what that's going to do is allow that tail to just kind of shimmy down there, you know, right above their head. And if they start following it, sometimes just slowly reeling it, not even shaking it at all. And I've got this on a very light jig head here, one of our FFS jig heads, a very light one. I think the lighter that you can get away with, the better. Obviously, if we had a lot of wind out here, I'd go to a little bit heavier head just to stay down. But right now with the calm conditions, that guy right there is the perfect head.